How many of you remember learning about World War II in high school? I personally remember it perfectly, mostly because it was one of my favorite subjects in school. Though we mostly learned about the Nazis and what the Nazis did to the Jews. We never really focused on what caused World War II, which is what we're going to be talking about. Now, one of the first causes that we will talk about is the Treaty of Versailles. Now, the Germans were forced to sign this after World War I. By signing this, they took full blame in what happened in World War I. They were also had to pay for everything that happened during World War I, all the damages and the costs of it. Now, not only did this happen, but they were not allowed to have an army anymore, which obviously you can tell that the Germans would be very upset with this. The second cause that we are going to talk about is Adolf Hitler. Now, if you know anything about World War II, you know that Adolf Hitler had a lot to do with World War II. And one of the how he came to power is he stated that he would rip up the Treaty of Versailles. Now, one of the most important things he did was he became alliances with Italy and Japan. Now, after doing this, he secretly started planning it and putting together an army. Now, if he would have been caught doing this, he would have been in big trouble. But since he secretly did it, nobody knew any better, and he got away with it. Now, the third thing that we're going to talk about is the failure of the League of Nations. As many people know, the Depression of 1920 hit all the nations very badly. Now, in doing this, Japan was very desperate and invaded China for their rich and minerals and their resources. And they started selling it among all of the nations. And when the League of Nations found out, they told Japan that they needed to back out and leave China. But instead of doing this, they actually withdrew from the League of Nations, which caused a lot of problems because then the League of Nations said that none of the nations needed to be trading with China, but instead of the other nations listening to the League, they themselves withdrew, and then they all started fighting amongst each other, which caused a lot of problems in World War II. Now, one of the last things we're going to be talking about is the policy of appeasement. Now, this policy happened between Great Britain and Germany. Now, Hitler came to the Prime Minister of Britain and told him that France and Russia had done a treaty and that they were in trouble and that they needed permission to start an army so that if they were invaded, that they could fight back and protect themselves. So, obviously, Great Britain took down the Treaty of Versailles and did the policy of appeasement. Now, this replaced it, obviously, and now Germany was able to actually use the army that they had secretly built. And this happened badly, and the Jews were hurt, and so many other things. And this is actually all the causes of World War II that I think are most important. I'm sure there are more out there, but these are the ones that I find that really led up to it. Now, I think what happened to the Jews is very sad. And I'm not saying that it's not important that we learned about that, because that is actually what made me interested in learning the causes of it. So I think that was very important that we learn these things, and that Hitler did bad things, and that the policy of appeasement shouldn't have been done, but it was.